So I wanted to do this video to start talking about something that's been growing in my head of how do we become agile superheroes. And the reason it's been growing in my head is because we've had to deal with so much change and it just keeps coming. It never stops. And I want to share this story that happened to me very recently. We've been going back and forth for the last 2 months trying to book a trip to the UK. You know, every time you try to do the risk analysis, it just didn't make sense because we have a 2-year-old. And the thought of back in April, I went back to Nigeria to go and see my dad. And all I kept going in my head was the thought of my 2-year-old on that plane. I was like, there's just no way we can stop him from not licking everything in sight. So it didn't make any sense. And then I kept thinking, okay, let's put it off. Let's put it off to next year. Things will get better. But then I kind of realized if this year and last year's anything go by, you can never tell what's going to happen. The only thing you know is that change is going to keep happening. So we booked the ticket. We thought, let's just do it, be brave, go with it. And then when we booked the ticket, there was also obviously a lot of anxiety. We haven't traveled. My wife hasn't traveled, so my wife was like, "All right, let's do a little mini test run, just see what it goes like before we go all the way from the US to Europe." So we decided, all right, we're going to go to Jamaica, not too far, half the distance from the US to the UK. So we booked the flight. We've all lined up. Everything's ready to go. Yesterday, I'm there working away, and then it's my turn to go and pick up my son from daycare. So I'm busy working away, oblivious that not a care in the world. Come outside, go downstairs, go to the car. My wife tells me, "Oh, just got the news. Our son's teacher has tested positive for COVID." And I was like, "You're joking, right?" She's like, "No, not joking." And guess what? His school is now shut for 2 weeks. I mean, to say that the ground just got pulled from underneath me would be an understatement. I was just like, what? He's now home for 2 weeks. Plus we have to now go and take a COVID test. And it was just so ludicrous. You didn't even know where to start. You couldn't have written this. So I get in the car, just obviously trying to think, how can I adapt to this change? And something that someone shared with me was how they deal with it, because in their work is literally all over the place. They have to deal with merchandise and ordering stuff, and they're creating stuff that they haven't even seen the merchandise, and they're creating stuff into the future. It's a ridiculous situation, and they're a self-proclaimed control freak. So they say what they do is when they come back, they just sing, "Let it go, let it go, let it go," and that just gets them through the day. So it made me think of how do we become agile superheroes? And when I use the word superheroes, I don't mean that every time we're kicking ass, we're getting through, we're getting it done. Like, the truth is, yesterday I was going to pick up my son. I was like, right, I'm going to need ice cream. I'm going to need chocolate. I'm going to need alcohol. I'm going to need a lot of things just to try and get through and digest how we now have to go and change the whole plan. But I want to hear from people in what is it that you do to get through this craziness? And I'm sure the working parents would know what I'm talking about, where we now have our son at home for 2 weeks. We love him to death, but it's going to be emotional. It's going to be tough. And as we look forward, as we're going into next year, it's just a topic I want to start talking about. So please share your comments. Just tell me what works for you. How do you deal with this? How do you show up and keep changing, keep being agile, keep pivoting? What do you do? I want to share in how whatever is working for people. All right, looking forward to the conversation.